I want to stand this afternoon with a little bit of a divergent view on the position canvassed in the lead debate by my senior colleague. While agreeing with the mischief that he intends to cure with this bill, that is preventing a case where people deliberately orchestrate overvoting in order to put fellow contestants at a disadvantage. Mr. Speaker, I'm worried at the provision or the proposition of asking or making a provision that the presiding officer be made to face criminal liability for cases of overvoting. And I'm saying this, Mr. Speaker, because it is not in all instances that overvoting as a result of the collusion of the presiding officer, and I stand to be corrected. I've had cases where at the period of accreditation, because of the malfunctioning of the accreditation machine, cases of overvoting results as a result of that, occur as a result of that. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the section which my senior colleague proposed, it gives the presiding officer the power to cure the problem in one instance, to say that he could go ahead and deduct the numbers of vote cast above accreditation from across all political parties. At the same time, prescribing that the presiding officer should be criminally liable for that same act. I want to think that if this proposition passes, Mr. Speaker, we'll be putting our young Nigerians who volunteer to act as presiding officers at unnecessary risk of
I was thinking that the purposive intention of the promoter of this amendment is to the fact that, granted, that the provision of the law entitles the president of the votes in view of the accredited voters, where he fails to do so and proceed to enter a result that is obviously outside the accredited voters, he should be penalized. I think that's the purposive intention of the promoter of this amendment, unless you saw it differently.
Mr. Speaker, I see it differently because we have to, the proposition, Mr. Speaker, is that he shall deduct the number of votes, of excess votes across all political parties in that political union, and the presiding officer shall be prosecuted. In other words,
why don't we remove the conjunctive and replace it with or?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I think this is the level where we discuss the general principles of the bill, if I'm properly guided. We are discussing the general purpose of the bill. And I think that this leg, like I said, will put these presiding officers at unnecessary risk of prosecution, even when the results of that act may not necessarily be as a result of their own negligence or collusion.
So, are you saying we should remove any punitive measure completely?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I am saying that I do not think this provision is actually necessary in the first instance. I agree with the position that, you see, Mr. Speaker, I think there's one thing we are running away from in this country. And we have said it severally, even at previous attempt to amend the Electoral Act. Unless we fully digitalize our electoral process by accepting e-voting, you can hardly be able to avoid situations like this happening as a result of manual or human error. And as long as those processes are still as crude as they are, I think it will be very wrong for us to seek to criminalize somebody unless there is an indication that that is as a result of the person's negligence or collusion with certain elements to occasion the overvoting. That's my position, Mr. Speaker.